Hey, good morning, everyone. We are still working on getting some tech stuff set up, so bear with us. We'll be starting in a few minutes. All right, good morning, people on the computer. Can someone just unmute and clarify if you can hear us?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Fantastic. And can you see me? Because I can't.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, sweet. Well, thank you all for joining on the computer. We have a lot of things going on in this room with tech and less than techie boxes stacked on each other. So we're just making it work. So I'll start introducing myself. So I'm Brittany, the program director for SLELO. We're really excited to have you all here today. I think I'm most excited to also see a lot of new faces that we haven't seen in recent years in the meeting room. So very excited to be able to connect with a lot of the newer people. We've been around, some for a long time, some haven't been around for a while. So excited to get to know everyone as we go through. The meeting is being recorded and we are using Zoom AI Companion to record the transcript. So what we do following meetings is create a meeting summary and a document to just capture all the notes. So just be aware of that, especially for you guys in the room, since it's a little bit less obvious to you, but from this side, it is very obvious that that's happening. So we have a pretty full agenda this morning, and I realize that I'm probably standing in your way. So we have a pretty full agenda this morning. We'll just introduce ourselves quickly. We'll say names and organizations, or if you don't have an organization, good morning, that's okay too. And then I'll talk a little bit about the partner survey that you all very kindly spent some time responding to. And then we'll talk about the BioBlitz and the idea behind that, some funding opportunities, as well as updates from our team. And then we really want to spend a lot of time hearing updates from our special projects that we funded this year, as well as everyone in the room. So we'll kind of end with just open dialogue if people have things they want to bring up and talk about. For those of you who are in the room, are really lucky enough to have lots of snacks for lunch. So if you weren't planning to stay before, I hope you are now. There's coffee and creamer. Feel free to get into anything that is of interest to you throughout the meeting, no problem. Restrooms are down the hall on the left-hand side. And if you need to fill your water, walk down to like that main lobby area, and there's a water fountain down there, which I don't know how well it worked, but hopefully not great. Hopefully it'll fill at least half your water bottles. And then so we'll break for lunch, and then if anyone who wants to join us on a walk, we'll still do that today because it's really nice out and we want to go enjoy the trail. So a BioBlitz in the fall was going to be a lot easier than one in winter. So we'll see what happens with that. So we're going to pass around this box with a microphone, and hopefully everyone in the room will be able to hear us. But you don't have to do anything, just pass the fun tech box. Just say your name, organization, and then like the position. Save all updates for later. Do you need to switch which computer the microphone's going in? Correct, yes. Great reminder. Let me just figure out where that is. Oh, right. I'm gonna need. Okay, hopefully everyone on Zoom can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Thanks for confirming that. Hi, everyone. This is Carolyn Kestner, Conservation and GIS Analyst for SLELO Prism.
Hi, I'm Linda Gibbs with Tug Hill Tomorrow Land Trust.
Hi, everybody. John Suva, Tug Hill Tomorrow Land Trust, Conservation Director.
Richard Gentry, Aquatic Invasive Species Tech in Region 7.
Hello, Eric Helquist, Biology Department at SUNY Oswego.
Bonnie Parton, Wildlife Technician for DEC in Region 7.
Hi, Faith Sewing Nguyen, Invasive Species Data Analyst with the New York Natural Heritage Program.
Hi, Bryce Wager, Aquatic Invasive Species Technician with Region 7.
Erin Jennings, Forester and Land Manager for State Lands here in Oswego County.
Emily Timke Benzinger. I am the Aquatic Invasive Species Coordinator for DEC Region 7 in partnership with the New York State Water Resources Institute.
Peter Kinney, DEC Fisheries Biologist for Oswego County. Hi there, Stacy Fergal with New York Sea Grant. I'm a Great Lakes Fisheries and Ecosystem Health Specialist.
I'm Anna Hawes. I'm the Aquatic Invasive Species Research Specialist for the New York State Water Resources Institute at Cornell.
Hi everyone, Jayla White. I'm the Aquatic Invasive Species Coordinator for Region 6 DEC in partnership with the Water Resources Institute.
Hi, I'm Kennedy Sullivan. I'm for New York State Parks Piping Plover Coordinator and also representing Onondaga Audubon Society as Assistant Sanctuary Chair.
Hi, I'm Sarah Acker-Krizwicki. I'm a volunteer with New York State Parks as an invasive species management steward.
Raquel Manella, Plant Conservation and Invasive Species Coordinator for Central Region, New York State Parks.
Hi, Dylan Cox. I am a conservation aide with Oswego County Soil and Water.
Jeff Richards, Board Chairman for Oswego County Soil and Water.
Hi, I'm Alexis Sprague with, I'm an environmental specialist with DOT Region 2.
Hello, I'm Emily Fell. I'm the Eastern Great Lakes Watershed Coordinator for the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation's Great Lakes Program in partnership with the New York State Water Resources Institute at Cornell University.
Hey everyone, I'm Jillian Lee. I'm a project specialist with the New York State Tug Hill Commission.
Adam Blue, New York State Department of Transportation, Region 7, environmental specialist.
Irene Mazaki, retired DEC, but currently working under Ontario Bay Initiatives as a consultant.
Hello, everybody. I'm Robert Smith. I'm the Terrestrial Restoration and Resiliency Coordinator for SLELO PRISM.
Hi, I'm Andrea and Sarah. I'm a volunteer for the Indian River Lakes Conservancy in Redwood.
Megan Pistole-Shaw, Education Outreach Coordinator with SLELO PRISM.
Hi everyone, Adrienne Owens, Aquatic Restoration and Resiliency Coordinator with SLELO PRISM.
Hi everybody, I'm Patricia Parkers and I'm representing Onondaga Audubon. And I'm last.
Everything again. Okay. Thank you all so much for doing it then. We got this really nice mic set and I realized after I was like, oh, it's just a clip for like an individual person to wear, not to pass around a room like this. We also got a fancy gadget over here that was designed to like follow where the audio is going. And then once we got it, realized that it only works with the specific app that that fancy gadget works with. So, you know, we're learning. It's part of technology. I lost the clicker already. Oh, there it is. So we are going to dive right into potentially the next thing, maybe not. I'll just not use the clicker. Okay, so we're gonna start by talking about how we are considering restructuring the partnerships for SLELO PRISM. And I know a lot of people spent time responding to the survey, taking the survey, and some of you are probably like, why are we restructuring partnerships? What's the need for this? And just around the room here, and those of you online can do the same, but raise your hand if whatever organization you work for currently has had staffing changes in the last 5 years. Yeah, us too. We've had capacity changes, programmatic focuses, funding cuts, funding opportunities that have been gained. So as our program especially has changed so much, I mean, Rob was the director for 14 years. Coming into the role myself, I knew a lot of our partners and worked really closely, and then started recognizing there was a lot of partners that I didn't know that were listed as active that I hadn't interacted with in 6 years at least, because that's how long I was with the program. And so why not do this now while we're having these changes and we're trying to regrow and transform SLELO into like the next thing. So why not do that now? So we value our partnership. I know it's literally in our name and it's a huge component of what we do. And we recognize that maybe there are organizations who want to be partners but haven't had the opportunity or didn't feel like they had the opportunity to participate with us. And then there are some organizations where like I feel obligated to go to these meetings. They don't make sense for me to go. I'm just going to go because I'm invited and I don't really need to be there anymore. And so what we were hoping to do was kind of meet people where they were, figure out what was going on with all of those perspectives, and then also try to rebrand what our partnership is going to be and what those benefits are in the future, because it's in our name, it's what we do, and it's the foundation of everything that we are. So for us, if you have anything related to invasive species restoration management, you belong in this room. And I am really grateful to have everyone in here. So talking about this partner survey. So first of all, how many people received more than one email from Megan? So we're sorry, we realized there was a tech glitch with the technology, which we didn't catch. What it was supposed to be doing was people who did not open their email were supposed to get more emails. And then it was people who did not actually take the survey were supposed to keep getting reminded about the survey. And then at the end, we were calculating the numbers and we're like, something's not adding up here. And apparently the technology just said, I'm going to send it to who I want to send it to regardless. So thank you so much. We had more than half of the people that we had sent it to actually respond to the survey, and that is shown in the logos on this screen here. And the responses that we received were phenomenal. We had 32 organizations who answered really in-depth questions. Some of the questions were hard to respond to, right? Like, what are the barriers of being a partnership? What improvements can SLELO Prism make to be a better partner to your organization? And just going through the responses, I know that people thought really deeply and care a lot about what they were thinking about. And so thank you for feeling safe enough to share those responses with us, because although when we're analyzing the data, it is considered anonymous, we've removed and scrubbed people's actual data from that. But in reality, your name was attached to the survey. So thank you all for sharing that information and just being comfortable knowing that we would be able to utilize this and improve our partnerships in the future. So we first talked about engagement and collaboration. So the biggest question was, we have like 50 organizations listed as partners, and I can guarantee that a quarter of those I have not spoken with. I do not even know a representative of that organization. And maybe that was a gap on our end, maybe it's a change in capacity on their end, and we didn't really know what that was. So the first question was if people had collaborated, or the organizations collaborated with us, and 27% said they hadn't in the last 3 years. So then the big question we asked is, we put a lot of effort into hosting partner meetings and trying to get people together in the same room to talk about our work. And so then we asked if they'd attended a partner meeting in the last 3 years. The number on the screen just was absolutely exactly how we felt. So almost 50% of the people said they hadn't been at a partner meeting. And then if we add in the people who did not even respond to the survey, that's closer to 70% of the organizations and people that were listed as partners who have not been at partner meetings, haven't been active for whatever reason. We wanted to dig into more of what that reason was. So some of the collaborations were through our education and outreach programs, promoting our newsletters, submitting articles to the newsletter, doing different events and AIS work and restoration, some special project funding and others. And then there was barriers that were identified, which, sometimes time is like the number one response, which it totally was. Scheduling conflicts, which is something that we're going to try to work around more. So figure out how we can host these meetings in a way that we can be more welcoming and allow more people here. Looking at the geographic distance, so where we're hosting meetings, where we're hosting events, and thinking about staffing capacity of those organizations. And some of the stuff that we're not, like geographic location, time constraints, we can't really change too much of that. We can put some effort into it. But the biggest ones were communication and coordination. And I, was seeing that across the board of like, I didn't even know these partner meetings existed, or I don't know when a partner meeting is until 2 days before when I see it on social media. And so we had to really think about some of those knowledge gaps, and we're going to work towards fixing and improving those over the next couple of years. And then we also asked if people are interested in collaborating and what kind of collaboration they were interested in. And I think this will help us really think forward of how we can work together more often. Don't worry, though, will be a nice report that we package together with what we do from this as well. So one of the restructuring our partnerships is we have some organizations that we work with all the time. Weekly, we're talking to a staff person from it. Monthly, we're talking to staff people from the organizations. And then again, we had some that were listed at the same level, no difference between, that I had never even met in my 6 years in time here. And so we wanted to explore different ways that we could track the partnership and really celebrate the active partners and promote our active partners more. So we came up with 4 categories, and we wanted to better understand if these categories were something that would prohibit people from wanting to be a partner, or if they would be interested and open to that. It was attending 2 partner meetings, supporting our goals and objectives, reporting invasive species activities, which, as most of you hear from us often, that's really important for us. And then also just general collaboration within the partnership as well. And so attending partner meetings, committing to 2 partner meetings was a little bit more challenging. I did appreciate some of the comments as to why that felt challenging or why it seems like it would. And also some people just straight up said, no, they can't come to partner meetings, and that's okay too. Supporting the goals and objectives. Most people said potential. Oh, so green on the screen here is potential, but they couldn't commit when they did the survey. And blue is, I'm sorry, green is yes, blue is potential. So we had an abundance of people say, yep, we can support the goals and objectives of SLELO. And some said potentially, I'm not really sure I fully understand what the goals and objectives are. And so we'll work on that too. Reporting invasive activities and then collaborating. So majority of the people said, yes, we can commit to that, which is great. No one said an outstanding number of no's. So we recognize that these are good options for us right now. We were looking into how you're receiving updates from SLELO, and a lot of people, like I said, were like, I didn't even know SLELO had partner meetings, or I didn't know about it until the day before. So figuring out how we're communicating with everyone, and then also trying to figure out how we can improve that as well. The content and frequency of updates. And interestingly enough, the person who had said no to the partner meetings also said that they get too many updates from us. And after digging through some more of the responses, it's a recognition that that was an organization that, you know, maybe their capacity has changed enough and that they aren't able to be active with us at this time. And then also interest in having featured work. Megan chases people down and hounds them for articles for our newsletters or social media content. And what we did in the survey is we asked you, do you want to share information? People said yes. And we said, great, what would you like to share? So now Megan has this list of 57% of the respondents, plus 34%, who shared what they want to share. So now she can go through that list and tailor it to what we need, reach out instead of just being like, please give us something and anything you want to share about. So invasive species surveys. So this is data is huge for us. We can't do our work well unless we know where invasive species are, unless we know about projects that are happening. And often we're all so busy, it's hard to keep everyone updated on stuff. So we find that like online databases like IMAP Invasives are super beneficial because I don't have to call anyone and be like, hey, what's going on in your region? You know, 2 months ago, the Finger Lakes Prism had found parrot feather and yellow floating heart. And we found out about it through IMAP Invasives, and that was in Onondaga County coming into SLELO. So now we have high alert on those species. We know that they're located really close. We can use that information. But so we asked if people were involved in data collection, and if they were reporting. For those of you in the room who can't really read this, but almost 50% said, yeah, we're reporting. Some people said they don't report, but they would with a little bit more training or understanding on why they report. And then a couple of people said they don't report at all, or they just report internally. So that was helpful for us. Then we asked about invasive species and the prioritizations from your organizations and your perspectives about what species you guys are focused on. You don't have to read all of these, but basically this was giving us a chance to say, okay, if we need to make updates on our website, what are the top 10 species that we should focus on those pages? Focus on the information, focus on the management aspects of it, try to improve some of those components. So that was really informative to us. There's some species that we realized that were on here that really aren't a priority to anyone. So why should we put effort? Why should we also put effort into creating content and providing education and different events if you guys aren't interested in that? So that was really helpful for us. So the biggest thing right now is this is super preliminary. Spent a lot of time playing in this data, and there's just so much that we can do with it and pull from it and figure out how we can improve. So again, I just really want to say, especially to anyone who took the survey, thank you for taking that time and really providing thoughtful feedback and just really sharing your thoughts and perspectives, because that is the most important thing in a partnership. It's not just saying that we're partners and putting your name on our website. It's actually being active together, supporting each other, and working together. So we're going to continue diving deeper into this. We're working to identify these next steps and figuring out how we can incorporate this more into our work plan for 2026. And we do have some ideas and some opportunities that I'm not going to read off the screen here, but just, you know, some of the responses, just going to respond to those and work through it. So as the late Dr. Jane Goodall reminds us all that every individual matters, every individual has a role to play, and every individual makes a difference. And I just want to say thank you to those on the line, as well as especially those in the room, for being a partner and participating with us, because your work matters. So thank you. Okay, so we'll move to the next slide. There was a delay between the phone and the computer, and I was like, I don't know which one's which. All right, so funding opportunities. These are also going to go out in our newsletter. So read the newsletter, check them out. I hope your wheels are spinning and you're thinking of this, because I would love to see more partners in our region taking advantage of these funding opportunities. So the big one is the Invasive Species Grant Program. This is the round 4 of this through New York State DEC. All applications are due December 17th, so you have about a month remaining for this work. And this can include aquatic invasive species spread prevention, terrestrial and aquatic invasive species response and management, and also restoration is included in here for the first time, as well as research. I know a challenge that many of our partners will encounter is there is a 25% match, but if you want to talk to SLELO, we also have the Nature Conservancy that can support with some of the proposal aspects. So if there's anything that we can do to support any of our partners in applying for this funding, please let us know. We can do letters of support as well. And yeah, just if anyone in this room is even thinking about project ideas that they're still hoping to kind of flesh out, talk to someone in the room today even. Or for those of you online, you can put it in the chat too. So we also just wanted to share a couple others, not solely focused on invasives, but there's a stream corridor management pilot program, and this is to support the creation of healthy riparian corridors and stream stabilization, riparian buffer establishment, and mitigation of roadside corridors, which all of those things kind of sound not invasive species related, but they totally are. I mean, that's literally in any one of those things that you could walk invasive species right into it. So that's another good opportunity. This is through the Soil and Water Conservation Committee. So for your programs, that might be a little bit more relevant. And then there's 2 funding opportunities through the Nature Conservancy. I am not the lead on these. They are due February 13th, but if you have questions, I can connect you with the people who are in charge of these projects. And this is the Climate Resilience Grant Program, as well as the Resilient and Connected Appalachians Grant Program. And so these are for fee and easement land acquisition programs or projects in New York. So if you're interested in any of those, John, you might see a familiar photo here. So then we have SLELO Prism project funding. We are changing a little bit from how we did it last year, trying to get ahead of the schedule. So we are able to fund up to 3 projects this year in a range from 10,000 to 25,000. Though if you have a project that's at like 8,000, just approach us and let us know, and we can still consider that. So we just have a set dollar amount that we can fund. We have a maximum for 3 projects. So this is, anyone can apply for this. We're going to have the actual applications due January 5th. So trying to get this done as early in the year as possible so we can start the contracting process. Our goal is to have awardees announced by January 16th and projects under contract by February 20th. So for this, it can be anything related to forest pests and pathogens. It can be restoration, terrestrial and aquatic. The priority would be for at least one of the projects given to aquatic or riparian projects. And then also if you have other project ideas related to invasive species that you're feeling really amped about, we'll also accept those. The official announcement, so you guys are hearing this firsthand, will be released, I don't even know what week it is right now, but in like November 24th, I think, the like Monday before Thanksgiving, we're trying to get it out. So
Will that be distributed?
yeah, so I'll email it. Yeah, and then we'll announce it on our website through our social media, it'll be distributed every which direction we can get it out. But especially the partner list, you guys will get it first because it'll also be hopefully in this summary from this meeting. And there's no match required for that. It's just a contract. So if you have questions, we can talk more about it when that comes up. All right. Jumping over to BioBlitz. So this is something that we are excited about because we're thinking ahead to 2026 and we are trying to figure out a way to kind of get people amped up and reporting more species, kind of the data collection aspect. And so what a BioBlitz is, we haven't actually hosted one in the past, but what they're designed to do is just a focused effort in a specific region to record as many species as possible in a given time frame. And so for us, the observations would be submitted through iNaturalist and IMAP invasives and reported to those databases so that we can get access to that data. And the reason that we're excited about this is because we could do it across our whole region. We can have some specialized areas that we want people to specifically go to. We can collaborate with our partners, get people really excited about community science, also hopefully get some new volunteers who are out there who can start reporting more data and start using this to strategically plan where our work is actually going to end up happening. We can't be everywhere all at once. And so our communities are really important to help us understand and recognize where everything is. So one of the things that you're all wondering, I love BioBlitzes. I love this idea. How can I help? So we're going to work on a planning team. We'll probably host this. We're thinking in ISAW next year, which do you know the dates, Megan? It's usually the first full week of June. Okay, so we're thinking around that time frame and maybe encouraging partners to host satellite BioBlitz stations or locations, providing staff or volunteers to go out with people, promoting the event, offering expertise. So after everyone submits hopefully thousands of pieces of data, maybe some people can go through and look at those records and help us confirm the observations. So this is something that we're still toying with trying to figure out, which is what leads us to our wonderful weather today. There's a mile trail here, which if you haven't actually walked on it in Pulaski, it's actually a really nice paved path. It goes right along the Salmon River. It's beautiful, especially with all the fall leaves and snow all mixed in there. So basically we'll just do like a fast-paced walk for whoever wants to join. Just check out the trail and try to identify as many plants as we can. Typically you do it when it's easier to identify plants when you have flowers or leaves, but you know what, we'll test anything out. Also part of the goal for this is to get some photos and some content that we can use to help promote the event. So we'll have apps getting downloaded during lunch, make sure everyone's all set with that, who wants to come still, and then we'll get everyone logged in and ready for action. So unfortunately, we can't control the weather in our area, but I think we could still have a good time. SLELO team is going to be out there no matter what, so just join us if you want. And that is enough from me. I'm going to lead over to Megan. I stopped using the clicker, but it might still be working. It wasn't working for me.
Oh, okay. Oh. Well, the arrows aren't working for me. Enter? Nope. What's going on here? I don't know. All right. I was like, it's just working. Hold on. So this is just a snapshot year to date of our education outreach metrics. We've had about 59 events held, and that's also including the events that our partners have reported to me too. And like Brittany mentioned, we're always really interested if you're hosting an event. So if you do host one that has invasive species related in any capacity, please let me know, and I will include you. People engaged at those 59 events. We've had 2,187 attendees.
I was attending at the last guy.
We've had over 32,000 website visits. 20,000 announcements. Those fancy emails you get from us that once they contact. That's what I mean by announcements. Social media, about 107 posts, 58,000 views, 21,000 reaches, and about 5,000 interactions. That's like someone likes it or comments or shares it. And then we've been in the media a lot. We've had 13 press releases pushed out, and a very big number of unique visits per month. That's just those media outlets, like how many people visit their resources, their website, like their newsletters and things like that. That's why that number is so big.
You're close. Me too. Not teaching.
Okay. And we do have some events coming up. So on December 4th, we have our Eastern Lake Ontario Swallow.
It's not the last one.
If you'd like to join us for that.
I don't know. I don't know if that's
Some speakers there, David Harris with CSF, Spencer with Thousand Islands Land Trust, and Josh Van Leeren with the Thousand Islands National Park of Canada, our very own Robert Smith. And we're going to get some updates on the root beetles for swallow or the biocontrol for that. We'll get a big overview of the happenings for swallow control in the Thousand Islands region. And then we're going to have a networking session available as well. You can proceed to the next.
You bet.
Okay. And we're also collaborating again with Tomorrow Land Trust. We've been working for a few years now together, hosting guided walk and talks for Hemlock Woolly Adelgid, and we're trying to enhance this effort and add a couple more engaging learning components. We're going to kick it off with a webinar so folks can learn more in depth about Hemlock Woolly Adelgid and where it's found in our area, and get a more in-depth training for American invasives so they can really be ready once they go into the field. And then we're going to do a field trip to Independence Park, where there's lots of HWA for everyone to see. And so you can see it firsthand, see it in person. And then Robert's also going to talk about some of our biological control efforts during that field trip time. And then we have a variety of options for you to join us out in the field and actually conduct a survey with us to look for Hemlock Woolly Adelgid. So we'll go to Salmon River Falls. That one's beautiful, especially this time of year. All of them. Winter hiking is my favorite. I know I sound weird, but it's just great. Also Trenton Greenbelt, and then we'll go out to Forest Park. And there'll also be opportunities for people that join these trainings to also join Team SLELO at some of our other sites that we haven't listed yet. So there'll be lots of opportunities to get out in the field and exercise your new skills. Good swag. Yeah, and always swag. Okay, and then I also just wanted to do a pitch for our partners in Finger Lakes Prism and hosting a wonderful workshop here coming up on the 15th. So spotted lanternfly is in Onondaga County, and they're going to be doing a workshop teaching folks like how to find the egg masses and what to do if you find them. And it's going to be a great opportunity. So if you can make it out there, we highly encourage you to check it out. You can scan this QR code, go to their website, and it'll also be, I'll be promoting it too. It's also on our Facebook page. And then there's just a whole bunch of events that partners have told me about. I tried to capture them all. Sorry if I missed an email or something, but lots of things going on. We got owl prowls, been talking about Tomorrow Land Trust. They're really fun to go on. I highly encourage you to check those out. We've got a great webinar on the 19th with interactions between spotted lanternfly and native species that Cornell IPM is hosting. Magnificent milkweed workshop with Oswego CCE. We got master gardener trainings with CCE in Jefferson County. We've got some great webinars, Take Action for Forest and Wildlife with IRLC, which I don't know if Andrea may talk about that later. Save the Rivers Annual Winter Conference is coming up. We've got LISMAs, our partners out there are having their own symposium and they're accepting abstracts. So if anybody wants to present at their symposium, I highly encourage you to go check out that. And then also Kennedy with Parks is looking for volunteers to help with restoration out at Sandy Island Beach State Park. So Kennedy, raise your hand if you want to help Kennedy come out there. It's a great time. Please check it out if you're interested in any of these. And again, if you're hosting an event, we want to know, please let us know. On our partners page, we have this resource here where you can go right to our partners page, and then I'll bring this up about halfway down the page. If you click that button, you can report events that you've already hosted and like the metrics from those events, or you can just notify me that, hey, I'm going to be hosting an event. I want help promoting it. Here's the information. And then we could put it on our website, we can share it on social media, we could put it in our email blasts and our newsletters, all the things. But I have to know about it first. So please tell me what you're doing. And that's it for me. Okay, awesome.
Thanks, Megan, for that. A lot of my work is focused behind the scenes, so I would say the biggest accomplishment since our last partner meeting was that we had a pretty smooth field season. I was able to help our field staff really quickly with any issues we ran into. You'll hear more about our field accomplishments in their sections, but I'll speak to a little bit of some special projects that I got to work on in the past couple months. So I am a licensed drone pilot. At the end of last year, we bought a new drone, and so I had the opportunity to take it out and start using it in the prison this summer, which was really great. So I undertook 10 drone flights across 2 wildlife management areas in SLELO to monitor the spread of water chestnut and the effectiveness of treatments in collaboration with DEC. Oops. And we also use these flights to track progress on some other projects. It's a little bit hard to see on the slide here. But my predecessor had done some drone flights in the area in 2021. So in 2021, you can see a patch of Phragmites in the middle here. And then when I reflew it this year, this is the patch of Phragmites in here. You can see it's maybe the same circumference, but it's definitely not as dense as it used to be. And you can see some other new vegetation moving in. So success like this is really hard to see from the ground. So it's really exciting to have this new tool to see the success of our projects from up high. And then we are also starting to implement some hemlock health monitoring flights. So we have some plots that our staff go out to every year to monitor the health of hemlock trees. And now we can start incorporating annual flights to monitor the health of those trees from up above. And hopefully we won't see bad mortality from HWA, but if we do, we'll have the imagery to see the progress from year to year. So this is an exciting new tool. We're still sort of figuring out how best to use it within our prison, but it was great to get out and use it this summer, and we have new data and we can see how to better use it moving forward. A next fun project I worked on over the past couple of months is a history of invasion in our prism, and thank you to Fate for helping me with my many data queries and emails to him. So we were sort of interested in seeing what the history of invasion is for our prism. So where was the first detection of a certain species throughout the prism? So the dots on this map, the green ones are the first instance of a terrestrial species, and then the blue ones are the first instance of an aquatic species. We're still sort of figuring out what best to do with this data moving forward, but it's really interesting to sort of track the progress of these invasions throughout the prism, sort of maybe see if there's, pathways for invasion within the prism. You can kind of see that the dots on this map are clustered towards the bottom of our prism. Maybe that's a bigger pathway of invasion for us than the upper part of our prism. But just definitely interesting metrics to have. Brittany and I have been thinking a lot about metrics over the past couple of months. So we have a lot of data at our disposal and figuring out the best way to use it. So this has been a really interesting data set to work with. And then finally, it's an exciting time of year for me. This is my busy season. Our field staff get to rest and I get to take all the data that they've collected and crunch all the numbers. So I'm working with our field staff to QA and QC our data and also write a lot of reports. So coming soon, hopefully by our next partner meeting, a lot of these reports will be posted online. But we have reports that detail our treatments across the prism, and then reports that also summarize our early detection program. So it's, we collect a lot of data. It lives out in the cloud, but it's nice to sort of summarize it in reports and see what we can do better next year, how we can change things for next year. So that's what I think that I've been up to, and I'll pass it off to Robert.
All right.
If you'd like to use it, just press the big forward button.
It's working?
Yes.
Excellent. Good morning again, everybody. I'm just going to try to make this as brief as possible. All the SLELO staff knows that's difficult. All right. Summary of the 2025 control work. And we're just talking about the non-volunteer side of this. Giant hogweed. You might have heard this already, but in the past, the DEC took care of Oneida County. Now we do. So that pretty much doubled our numbers because that's where most of the giant hogweed just happens to be. We monitored 73 sites this year. 32 of those had no germination. And on the good news side, 3 were able to retire, which means they've been inactive and no giant hogweed for a 9-year period. 20 sites we did treatments with herbicide, and 19 sites were root cut, and then we had 2 sites with no permission to treat. which I'm actually hoping next year we'll actually be able to treat both of those. I have some confidence that's gonna happen. Briefly on the rest of on the early detection surveys, or on the control work, that is. I mean, all our common ones here, swallowwort, phragmites, knotweed, and bittersweet there were treated. The majority was swallowwort with 50 highly probable areas and 10 PCAs. Phragmites was 17 HPAs and 10 PCAs. The knotweed was 9 HPAs and 5 PCAs, and bittersweet was at least with 4 HPAs that were found on 2 PCAs. All right, invasive species surveys. We just completed those in early October, which is a record for us. We are very happy that we were actually able to accomplish that. Usually it creeps more into later October, early November. We did surveys at 7 PCAs this year. You can see them listed right there. What that meant was that we had to visit 117 highly probable areas in those 7 PCAs. 35 of those were areas where treatment is occurring. And so it's basically a post-treatment evaluation when we go to make that visit. And as usual, over the last few years, we break out our iNaturalist tool and collect native species data at each of the PCAs. You know, that'll allow us to get a better sense of what the diversity is at those sites, and for restoration work, what the most appropriate plants to plant would be. All right, biocontrol. Always lots of biocontrol, you know, going on. I'm going to try to keep this short. Swallowwort, the Hypena alpiana, we've been releasing for many, many years now. We have stopped doing the releases, and what we have done instead is done establishment surveys. We ran those June through August. The trail, there was a trail survey at Whaley State Park. We actually ran it this year and the 2 years previous, and it's like 10 to 15 miles of trail. So we do, you know, a third of that each month for 3 months. Transect surveys at Grenadier Island. That was the first time this year. I went all over Grenadier Island, and unfortunately, no evidence of Hypena opulenta, which is pretty much the case everywhere. So all the places there are not finding Hypena opulenta. For some reason, it doesn't appear to be overwintering, or it is very good at hiding from us. Either the case, it's like it does not seem to be an effective biocontrol that we're going to use in the future. So we've discontinued pursuing release of Hypena opulenta. We will continue to do our chemical treatments and our manual removals, our hand pulls. And the root beetle is a one that's in research mode right now. If that's approved, we'll try to get our hands on a hold of that. Emerald ash borer. There was 3 parasitoid wasps that we were given. We were given 10,199 of them over a 2-year period that are target emerald ash borer. The first 2 years was a release there of the 10,199. The second 2 years was a establishment survey. We had put out 15 pan traps. Insects got attracted to the pan traps, and then we would collect that, go to the lab. A mostly volunteer group would go through all the samples, determine which ones look like any of those 3 parasitoid wasps. We send it off to USDA, and they tell us yes or no. Last year, they told us yes for at least 1 of all 3 of those parasitoid wasps. This year, they did 2 out of 3. And you may ask yourself, what does that all mean? Well, I asked them that very question. They said, excellent question. And they said, you found 2 out of the 3 of them the last 2 years. They said that is substantial evidence showing that they are establishing at Rice Creek Field Station, you know, where we did the releases at. Ubius agrelli, we didn't find this year. Does not mean that it's not establishing, because we found it last year. We're hoping what they said is some more surveys are pretty much typical with Ubius. If you know anything about Ubius, it's like the size of a dot. Yeah, it's really, really tiny, really hard to find. We're on the works or thinking about how we might go about doing some more surveys. Perhaps as soon as we go, might be able to help us with the sampling for Ubius agrili. If we find it again, that's would be a good evidence that they're establishing. Spotted knapweed, first time this year. Working with the Montana Biocontrol Coordination Project, which is a collaboration between the federal government, like the USDA, and the state government of Montana. There, they gave us 400, 200 of each of biocontrolled insects. They're the Larinus, which is actually two species of it. They gave us 200 of those, and I'm going to mess this up, but probably Leonius Cades. There's 200 of those they also gave us. We released them at Deer Creek, where they're in the dune system, which you all know is a fragile dune ecosystem along Lake Ontario. With hopes there that they will bring down the spotted knapweed population. The one there targets the flower seed head, the other one targets the root. We are going to ask for 400 there more this year. And then we're going to try to do some monitoring plots, and we're hoping that we get some partners to help us out with that. Somebody that probably knows a little bit more in the etymology range, because these can be tricky to identify positively. So that's in the works, but we will do a spotted surveys for them. All right, 4 restoration sites where we had plantings at Black Pond, El Dorado Reserve, South Kirk Fen, and Deer Creek. October 20th to 25th. Participants, 4 SLELO staff, 1 DEC, 4 parks, and 18 volunteers, all doing an outstanding job. I thank them all there. We really needed that help. It was important, and I'm glad you all were there. Plant diversity, we had a total of 22 different species that were planted. They're not all at each site. There was up to 15 species planted at one of our sites, which was like a new first year planting, because we usually plant over several years. These were site appropriate species, so we looked to places like iNaturalist or the New York Natural Heritages Program. They had an ecological guide to select these species so that they were appropriate for the places that we planted. And you can see all the pictures of all 4 sites right there. All right. EAB, biocontrol site submissions. You should have gotten this. If you did not get the message, please let us know. We will we will forward you that message. The USDA APHIS is accepting requests for EAB biocontrol. We just finished our 4-year program at SUNY Oswego, but there's other places that they could be released. So if you happen to know a new site, it's like they're come see me. Come see me. I can work in an advisory role to help you with the application and any other needs you may have. They're going to select approximately 100 new sites. Priority is for new states and counties, which means really in SLELO region, if you happen to find something in Lewis County, we would have we would be put up to the top of the list. Other than that, it's like hopefully they'll select us. Wooded areas of at least 40 acres is what we need. If possible, at least 25% of the trees should be ash. And we're looking for healthier there. So they got to be fairly healthy ash trees, what they call 1 to 2, which is healthy or mostly healthy. And one last thing. I didn't put a slide for it. We had a meeting recently with Miller's Turf, who's been doing our pesticide applications for multiple years now. Unfortunately, they will not be able to fulfill our contract next year. So what does that mean? Well, that means we got to find out somebody else there to do this work there. And so we will be, submitting a request there for somebody to fulfill this contract. If one of our partners organizations thinks that they would be, or that they might be interested in fulfilling that, this would be some funding that would help you if to support your herbicide applicator side. So if you needed to hire additional staff, that, you know, this would be funding for it. If you are interested, please let me or Brittany know, you know, because right now that's like high priority for us. So that's all I have. Thank you very much. Adrian is next. She'll talk about the aquatic zone.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I think at the last partner meeting in the spring, I was gearing up to do my first field season, and I think it was the first time seeing all of your faces then. So it's really cool to gone through this summer field season and now come back and be able to recognize most of the folks in this room. So we did 7 aquatic vegetation surveys this year across our priority conservation areas. So we surveyed for aquatic plants at Mud Lake, South Sandy Creek, Salmon River, Perch River, North Sandy Pond, Muskellunge Creek, and French Creek. So to do this, we do rake toss surveys to be able to identify and get a sense of the plant assemblages in the water bodies that we care about in your region. And we also do observations. So this helps us track and monitor our aquatic vegetation across our region and look at our results over time. And we're so aside from these general surveys, we also launched a very specialized monitoring and outreach effort this summer, specifically for fanwort. So this is a tier 2 species. It's not known to be established in nearshore habitats in Great Lakes region until it's detected last year in Black Creek. So we had a very quick response effort to go by the Young Mills Dam and do a very quick removal right around the dam before it was reconstructed. So this year, our ambition was to monitor the Little Salmon River, which connects to Black Creek, and the Little Salmon River feeds into Lake Ontario. So that was our greatest concern there. So our main objective was to see has this species, this population of fanwort, made it past the dam, past Black Creek? If so, has it made it into the Little Salmon River, and how far down has it made it? And try to identify its proximity to Lake Ontario at that point. So thanks to our partnerships with Region 6 and 7 DVC, as well as with Cornell, we launched a 2-day monitoring effort and covered 3.25 river miles looking for the species. And unfortunately, the population was much more distributed and established than we previously thought. So this was a really insightful survey that gave us a much better understanding of this tier 2 species establishment in our region. So just if you can see it on the map, the fanwort was originally detected there. So our thought was how far, and unfortunately it was found all the way this close to Lake Ontario. So we are very concerned about this population, and looking forward into 2026, we would love to collaborate and talk about, get the conversation going for management efforts and how to address this species while it still is a tier 2 species and while we still have our ability to cope and manage with this population here. So thanks again for our partners that helped us with this survey. We couldn't have done it without you. And if you see this species at all or think you have, like, give it your best guess and feel free to reach out to me, send pictures, note where it is, and yeah, send me an email anytime. If it's okay if it's not, that's better if it's not fanwort, so don't be shy. So yeah, super interesting also on the Callow Pond, South Callow Pond, Lakeview Wildlife Management Area. We detected a population of Nelumbo lutea, or American lotus. So this species nativity / invasiveness is very debated, but it's native to Illinois and is believed to have been spread and cultivated to New England by First Peoples as an important cultural resource and food source. However, like regardless if if the species is left unchecked, it's known to have invasive tendencies and be a management concern. So we tracked this population in 2024 of fall. It was 28 acres. Recently remapped it this summer. It's expanded rapidly to 1.4 acres. So we really wanted to get on this right away, do a flower head removal effort to just kind of get a head start on controlling these species and just not so much exterminating it as much as controlling it in the area while we still can. So moving forward, we're going to be trying to strategically keeping a lot in mind for cultural sensitivity around it, to come up with a management effort. But thanks to our partners and our volunteer effort, we dedicated a whole day and removed every single flower head that we saw on this whole population here. So we stopped the next generation, at least at this point. So thank you so much to all our collaborators that made it out that day. And it looked daunting at first, but we got all the flower heads removed, and some people made fashionable hats out of it. So good to do that. So yeah, we're also partnering with SUNY Oswego to monitor and detect invasive species in our region using environmental DNA or eDNA. So we're wrapping up our sampling season. So by the end of this week, we will have collected 75 water samples from all around our region, and we're sending the samples to the lab at SUNY Oswego, and they are doing qPCR analysis for a select few species: breasted crayfish, tench, Asian carp, goby, hydrilla, snakehead, Eurasian water milfoil, and fanwort. And they're also conducting metabarcoding for 22 native and invasive fish species to get kind of a preliminary idea of the fish community within our waterways. So really excited to have results coming in for that shortly. And also this year was our second year of doing aquatic invasive species learning experience, also known as our pilot program. So this is a really fun way to get folks engaged with native aquatic and invasive aquatic plant identification. It's a really niche realm of knowledge. So it gives folks the opportunity to get involved and give you the know-how to go out on your water body and identify aquatic plants. So it starts off with a virtual training that we did, and that moved into, if you stuck around with us long enough, to a in-person workshop. So we had a whole bunch of plant samples collected by Eric and Barry Hellquist from all over the region. So folks were able to get their hands in the buckets and play around with samples and specimens and get a real sense of what these species look like using the information that we provide. And then finally, we get to go out on water for kind of this floating classroom experience and get to see the plants under the water and provide that training. So if you're interested, please, or anybody else who knows for next year, sign up for that. And we further encourage folks to join our Water Protectors program. So if you want to apply this knowledge to your own water body, go out there, throw a rig, we're looking the water and track what species you're seeing. That will give us a really good sense of what invasive aquatic plants are in our region, aside from just the aquatic surveys that we're doing, because we can only do so much. So we really rely on our community that we stay in touch with. And just kind of spreading some awareness, reminding what we're all capable of doing and keeping our eyes out. So I wanted to bring attention to red feather. This is a tier 1 species, so it's not located in a region yet, but there is a clear pathway that exists. It was recently detected in Onondaga County this summer. So the Finger Lakes region is working for management strategies, moving forward with that. So we're on really high alert for this species. So please keep your eyes out and be aware and be in touch if you think that you see it. And I think that is it for me. So. Here.
All right, so we're gonna really test our tech today. So Spencer, I'm not sure if you're on the line. I don't know. Yeah.
Yep. I'm here.
If you're, I see you a little bit here. I'm gonna say bye if you turn up your audio. Oh, sweet. That's what I'm gonna try to do. All right, I'm gonna mute this, and then I think we're gonna try to do audio on two computers so that hopefully people can hear. And I'm also gonna turn off my camera. Gonna work, but okay. Can you mute that for me? Oh, it's not muted.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Good
It's like
morning,
there are people in the
everyone.
room.
Okay. Is this working okay?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'll get kicked off then. I'm Spencer Bustler. I'm the Assistant Director for the Thousand Islands Land Trust. We were incredibly grateful and fortunate to have been nominated for a special project award in 2025. We submitted an application to the SLELO Prism for an invasive species detection and management grant specific to Tilt's signature preserves. The Thousand Islands Land Trust is a nonprofit land conservation organization. We work on the eastern end of Lake Ontario, all the way up through the northern extent of St. Lawrence County. And we conserve about 15,000 acres of land, about 6,500 of which are conservation easement properties that are privately owned. But that leaves about 8,500 acres that we actually own and manage across that service area. So it's quite a bit of land to keep eyes on. And so having a little bit of extra support to really do a deeper dive into which species are present, primarily on our signature preserves and our public access points and trails. We thought that that was a valuable and worthwhile initiative. Can I have you click to the next slide? Thank you. So as mentioned, the Thousand Islands Land Trust has about 10 signature preserves, and we identify signature preserves as those properties that we're really trying to have embody our entire mission of the organization, and where we want to have focus on our public access and outdoor recreation opportunities, so that we can concentrate human impact while also conserving and protecting a lot of those natural and ecological values and priority areas and natural communities that really deserve preservation. So we do have 10 of those preserves, and that totals about 20 to 22 miles of public recreational trails, most of which are just open for foot traffic, hiking, biking, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, that sort of recreation. Very little motorized access on our public access trails. But that still was an opportunity for us to assess, hey, do we have any invasive species on these trails? We don't want to be a vector. We also don't want those invasive species to actually infiltrate the sensitive landscapes that surround the trails. So we have a quick map here showing some of the trails that were assessed. We ended up assessing 9 different trails across 8 of our signature preserves, totaling about 20 miles of trails that were mapped using IMAP invasives and iNaturalist. I will have you advance. And this really all spawned because we had a dedicated a hiker on our Crooked Creek Preserve, our McSherry Trail system, identify stiltgrass, invasive stiltgrass on our Crooked Creek Preserve. And this was the first time that we had actually noticed it. It was off the side of the trail, so unless you're paying close attention, like this particular hiker was, we wouldn't have picked it up necessarily. So that really spurred the idea of, hey, what's out there? Yes, we know of some of our trails that have invasive that is a very minor subset of what could be out there. So that really initiated the whole project for us here. I'll have you click to the next slide. And so we used the IMAP invasive to survey 20 miles of trail so we could get an understanding what was present, what wasn't present, and to use that data to recommend treatments or management objectives. I'll have you click to the next slide. And we knew that there were observations of pale swallowwort on some of our preserves, the stilt grass, obviously, from the observation that was made last summer. And we wanted to see exactly what sort of other species were present. And then follow that up with any sort of in-house treatments based on our observations, potentially using subcontractors for herbicide applications if it was appropriate. Then coming in doing some native seeding or any sort of restoration of those impacted areas. I'll have you click to the next slide. So of the 20 miles of trails that were surveyed, we did find invasive species at every trail system that was surveyed, and the majority of which were tier 3 and tier 4 species. Fortunately, we did not find any observations of tier 2 or tier 1 species on those trails. But here's an example of an output from the IMAP invasive app on the right. This was our Chippewa Bay Preserve near the St. Lawrence River, and there were observations of yellow iris as well as honeysuckle and purple loosestrife on this particular property. So I'll have you click to the next slide. And so what we were able to do this fall, unfortunately, the actual trail surveys weren't conducted until later in the summer. And as many of you know, it was a very dry and sunny summer. So a lot of the plants that we were observing had actually browned out and yellowed out quite a bit earlier than they would have in a normal growing season. So it really rendered chemical and herbicide treatments not really practical for this growing season, just given how late in the season the surveys took place. But that left us the option of doing some mechanical removals this fall. So the pictures that you see here on the screen was from a yellow iris pull that we recently conducted on our Chippewa Bay Preserve. It was an area that was about 1,600 square feet. It was about 80 by 20 or so. And we were able to fill about 15 to 20 contractor bags full of both the root crowns as well as the rhizomes. Obviously, we're fully aware that this is going to be a work in progress on each one of these restoration sites. We can't just rest on our laurels now that the bulk of that biomass has been removed. There are a number of seeds that were observed. We know that we missed some rhizomes, so we're going to need to stay diligent and continue our surveys moving into the next 3-4 years at some of these sites. So we do have intentions of doing, once some of the snow and ice melts off, we're doing some root crown removal on pale swallowwort on our Rivergate Trail and our Schmear Preserve. Again, hoping that we can actually enter the spring of 2026 with some chemical treatments on some of those larger infestations where mechanical and hand pulling just really doesn't make a lot of sense. That is all I have in terms of a snapshot on an update for our special project nomination. Again, thank you to SLELO for that opportunity. We know of invasives that we didn't know beforehand, and we are excited to really tackle that over the coming years to make sure that those are snuffed out and that we don't become the vector for spread.
Thank you, Spencer. All right. So Olivia, I see you're on. Are you ready to present?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. One second.
Sure. Perfect. Am I all good to get started, Brittany?
Yeah, you're good to go.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I'm Olivia Blue. I am the district manager for St. Lawrence County Soil and Water. We were also really grateful to be able to do this partnership with SLELO Prism. Our soil and water hadn't done a ton with invasive species in the past. We've dabbled with it here and there, but it's becoming one of our kind of focus areas in our strategic plan. So we were really excited to be able to kind of have a project focused on invasive species management in our county. I will be fully honest, this project was mostly under our forester, Aaron Berger. He's out of the office this week, so you have to listen to me, but there might be some details that I don't 100% know. He had done a full county forestry management plan for all of our county parcels. So we know that invasive species are like a really big problem in our county. And this was a project we were really excited to be able to take on because we are lucky enough to have the Blandings turtle, which is a species of conservation concern in a very small portion of our county. So this PowerPoint is basically the same that we went over at our last partner meeting, but I figured I'd give all the same information. It sounds like there's a lot of new faces in the room. Sorry for not being there. I'm a bit of a panicked driver, so I was a little nervous about driving 2 hours this morning, but so if we want to skip to the next slide. So our project goal here was there was quite a bit of invasive Phragmites, honeysuckle, and buckthorn in a parcel that is right on the cusp of the Blandings turtle habitat. It's a really small, I think we show a map later on, area. But basically we wanted to treat the invasive plants to help the habitat and kind of the connection created by the Trout Brook, which is a local stream, and surrounding wetlands to other protected areas to hopefully increase the habitat and nesting areas of the Blandings turtle. Thank you. So the importance, so as I mentioned, the Blandings turtle, which are very cute, are a species of conservation concern, and they're increasingly threatened by a lot of different things, but certainly the spread of non-native invasive species. We all have seen them out and about. They really do overrun wetland and upland areas, which degrades the Blanding turtle's habitat, outcompetes native vegetation, alters the water quality, decreases the amount of safe and accessible nesting sites. So if left unchecked, we obviously know that invasive species will invade and will continue to degrade their habitat, leading to further declines, which again, we're really lucky to be kind of the only spot in New York that has this turtle, but the more that we can expand their ability to nest and have that critical habitat in our county, the better. So we are hoping by removing the invasive species, especially kind of in this outward portion of their habitat, that we could hopefully slowly expand, you know, a little bit more into our county and continue to create safe spaces for them. So our objectives here were to suppress and where possible, obviously our overall goal is to eradicate the early stage invasive species. Again, Phragmites, honeysuckle, and buckthorn from this critical Blandings turtle habitat. And then after that, we are going to restore the native plant communities and then continue to incorporate restoration strategies to promote the regrowth and hopefully keep the invasive species at bay in this area. Again, we had already known what invasive species were there, but we hadn't uploaded it to IMAP. So this program kind of pushed us to be able to do that, get our techs kind of more trained in IMAP invasives, and continue to do that moving forward. So our plan, map priority invasive species, again, we already knew that it was out there and in what quantities, but kind of looking at it through a different lens and putting that on IMAP to guide our removal efforts. And then this is a lot more simple than other projects, which we were grateful for, that we were basically just contracting out professional services for the suppression and removal of the invasive species, and then come spring, replanting. So here's our map. So you can see it's a very, very small portion. I'm sorry that my phone is ringing. Of New York. So again, we're kind of right on that border area, hoping to be able to expand and bring that critical habitat a little further in. So a status report, so all 53 acres of our project area have been treated. And then we did a post-treatment survey, which showed about 2% survival rate of the target invasive. So, you know, this will indicate, obviously, no matter what, spot treatment was probably going to be needed in the future. But right now, that's only looking like a few plants per acre. So pre-treatment, before we did the hack and squirt and treatment, there was a lot of diversity underneath the ferns and invasive. So there was yellow birch, red maple, sugar maple, basswood. So we're really hopeful for a rich and diverse regeneration next year. And that's kind of gonna guide our planting rate and species, is just seeing what comes back in spring. And then we'll obviously work with SLELO to determine what species and what amount to plant in this area afterwards. Here's just a before and after. I wish we would have taken more pictures. So that was definitely a learning curve for our department in terms of working with invasives. I feel like that really packs the punch when we aren't as used to having to do that. So you can see a lot of Phragmites in the background here. And then it kind of looks sad and desolate in the second picture, but it's a good thing. We're really hopeful that this will come back native, and we can come back in amounts that we'll be able to handle a little bit more easy in the future. So what's next? As I said, come spring, we'll recheck and continue to upload to IMAP invasives. And then we'll potentially, depending on the amount, manually remove or again, receive guidance from SLELO Prism based on the amount of species that pop up, the best way to kind of stay on top of that. And then using some state funding, we call that our Part C funding. We plan on planting the native species as needed, you know, depending on regeneration and what that's looking like come spring. And I think that might be it. Yeah. So if anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer that.
Thank you. We'll have an opportunity for questions at the end.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Sorry, everyone online, just 1 second. Okay. I think might be okay. I don't know. Yeah.
We'll try it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi again, everybody. I'm John, Tug Hill Tomorrowland Trust Conservation Director. We similarly received a very generous grant, and I think it's been going really well. I'm excited to share this update with you, which actually has, oh no, that's not it. Okay, well, we'll do it without those slides.
Sorry.
No problem. So project summary of what we're doing with this project. It's a buckthorn and honeysuckle removal project on one of our PCAs, public conservation areas, located right outside of Fort Drum. It's in the town of Luray, and we acquired it a couple years ago. We've got a lot of things going on this property, so it's always been a high priority target area for us to work on, develop. We have trails going in this past year for public use, public education with Lynn. And we also have some endangered species, the Indiana and long-eared bat in the back of the property. So we have a land management plan developed to strategically work on this property, which admittedly was in pretty rough and continues to be in a little bit of a rough shape with fallow fields, old ag land. We actually still have an ag lease on the other side of the property from this project. So, but over the years, it had been allowed to, this buckthorn has just choked out this very specific large part of the land. And so this grant allowed us to get in there. You might have saw a picture earlier of the equipment. We had a contractor come in and bring some equipment to remove as much as possible within the budget. And this week is actually his last week out there with the equipment, and to be picked back up next spring or early summer for a foliar spray. Now, we did have a little bit of a project pivot from the last time I presented on this project. We were originally going to do the hack and spray method too. Because of a couple factors, our field work was pushed until just this last few weeks. And but I am excited to report last week the contractor did above what we were expecting, and we're a little over 15 acres cleared. We saved a number of apple trees out there and some cherry, and we're excited to see that regrowth next year with the combination of that foliar spray. And excited to see great new habitat that's going to help the bats and the insects and see what comes back after that and continue to manage it. So yes, that's probably it.
Strong. Sorry. Let's get their slides. All right. So I don't see CCE on anymore, so we'll move forward to roundtable updates in the room. So this will be a lot more fun for those of us in here now. And basically I'll just have everyone, we'll just go around to the room and just share up to a 2-minute update just about what projects you're working on this year, what projects you're excited about, and basically anything you want to share. The floor is yours. So I'm going to actually just stop. Well, I'll leave the sharing on here, but I guess we'll pass the mic around again. You don't have to hold it up. You can just like set it on the table if you want or something, but we have to, it's in my computer. I can change this really quickly. All right, hopefully everyone can hear online. Sorry to make you go first, but
Thanks so much.
Should've gone the opposite way.
So updates for us, John pretty much covered our project at the Smith Bay. We've got a lot of programs coming up with HWA. We're looking forward to setting dates for beach leaf disease surveys as well in our region. So, you know, those things are coming along. We're scheduling and we're excited to get out there. I know that we attended the symposium last summer, made great contacts there and have moved quite a few projects forward from that. So I want to thank you guys for being so well organized and providing such a great day this summer for us. It was really helpful. That's about all I have.
I'll just quickly add, Lynn, to on the land protection side of our nonprofit. We are up to 25,000 acres conserved. Continue to add to our conservation easement lists and fee-owned properties. So we are now, David S. Smith, the one that I just talked about, is one of 7 public conservation areas that we protect. And we are looking forward to having a bigger presence with managing and observing potential problems and threats from the invasive species.
Also, I don't know everyone's names in the room, so if you could just say your name first too, just to help me get faces to names, that's really great. No updates? I would with them. Oh, okay.
Do you want to go or?
Go ahead.
Hi, Eric Helquist from SUNY Oswego. And the main project I've been working on for the past 8 years has been working to control invasive narrowleaf cattail in the sensitive fen habitat in the Hannibal, Oswego town in Oswego County. And that project, we had another successful field season. We have a series of 36 plots where we manually control the cattails and then go back to those plots year after year to see how our control has been working. And then we also clear the cattails in the entire floating mat habitat outside of our plots as well. And most people have probably, a lot of people in the room have heard me present on this in the past, and all is well with that project. And we continue to drive the cattail levels down on the floating mat and just preserving important habitat for some rare plant and animal species that reside in the fen.
Bonnie Parton, DEC. I am thrilled that I got through my wetland permit, so you guys can continue to do work on our property for the next 5 years. Yeah, I'm just happy that you guys have been doing all the hard work for us out there on the WMA, specifically Deer Creek, with the removals and restoration and all that. So just looking forward to continuing our collaboration on multiple properties for DEC in Oswego County.
I'm Fate Sawinguan. I'm representing the IMAP team today. We just, our whole team wanted to say thank you to everybody who contributed data this year. All of the work you do is so important, and we're happy to get all that data and support you and all your data needs. Really, the only update we have is that December 5th is sort of our deadline for getting data in to be included in our annual summaries, which we provide. So, make sure through all your data collection tools that you might have with us, your mobile app, IMA, whatever, make sure your stuff is either marked as ready for upload or you get it out of your outbox or whatever, because then that data can be in our annual summaries, which are really cool. And in early 2026 is when we'll probably be doing some of our other derivative analyses, such as the tiers analysis and things like that. So thanks again, everyone.
Erin Jennings with DEC. I don't have any specific projects for update at this time.
Hello, Emily with Region 7 or DEC Region 7 Aquatic Invasive Species. So I guess just a real quick summary. So this year I had 2 interns with me from SUNY ESF that were with me from mid-May to about mid-August. And then I have 2 seasonal technicians, Richard and Bryce, who are also with me from mid-May until this Friday. So good luck to both of them. Thank you for everything. So this year, our main project that we worked on was hydrilla control and monitoring in Cayuga Lake. So I know that's a little bit outside of SLELO, but we spent a lot of time on it. So I'd like to just go over it a little bit. So in Cayuga Lake, we controlled my crew and I, we were out and we did herbicide application in just over 50 acres of surface acres at Cayuga Lake. And so what we did is we were out there once a week, every week for 10 weeks doing an herbicide application. So that took up, I would say, a majority of our field season. We also had a contractor do some of that work as well. They did about 170 acres, and then U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, they also have been involved in the project, and they treated the remainder of that to make up for that 300 for a total of 311 acres of area treated in Cayuga Lake for hydrilla. Along with that, we did some monitoring for submerged aquatic vegetation. So on Cayuga Lake, my crew and I, we monitored over 630 surface acres on Cayuga Lake. And then we also did about 122 acres in a handful of other smaller water bodies throughout the region. for a total of just over 750 acres. We also participated in a multi-day monitoring event with Army Corps, Fish and Wildlife, Finger Lakes Prism, and then also Region 6 AIS coordinator came out and helped us for a day with Army Corps, and that covers just over 800 surface acres, and we do that all in a week. So it's a long day. Let's see, we also monitored a total of about 23 miles of stream for aquatic invasive species. So some of that included the work that we did with Adrian for looking for fanwort. We also did some monitoring down in Tioga County. So that covered Little Nanticoke Creek, where we have a known hydrilla patch in a pond that leads into that creek. So that's an important area to check out. As well as the Seneca River, we monitored for fanwort as well. That was about 7 miles. And then we also took a nice quick 17-mile trip down the Susquehanna River for some eDNA samples. And we collected about 20 samples. And we're just waiting for those to be analyzed, which hopefully should be soon. And we'll see what we get from there. And then a couple of other projects. We did do a water chestnut macroinvertebrate study with Cornell Water Resources Institute with Anna, so I'm sure she'll share a little bit more about that. We did some delineation of water chestnut in the Montezuma Wildlife Management Area at about 5 different impoundments in there. And then we also participated in some water chestnut removals with Montezuma, as well as Hunts Pond in Madison County and Oneida Lake, totaling about a little over 8,000 pounds of water chestnut removed. And that was also, though, not just us, like with volunteer groups as well. And then one other thing we did this summer, which was really cool, we did a paddle and protect event down in Cayuga Lake, which was hosted by the Cayuga Lake Watershed Network. We had about 20 participants, and we showed them how to do rake tosses, how to identify aquatic plants in Cayuga Lake, and it was an awesome event. So I'm hoping we can do that again. But yeah, that was everything. Do you have questions? Yes. So there's more fanwort than we thought. So we'll figure that out. Oh.
okay.
Peter Kinney, DEC Fisheries. The main thing that I did this summer was collect early detection eDNA water samples from the Oswego River and Salmon River. Salmon River was down in the estuary area, and the Oswego was from Fulton up until the dam. They're water samples for U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and it's looking for all the early detection stuff. So most likely is not going to be stuff that's there, but you're just looking anyway. So lots of different snakehead species, tench, the various Asian carps, some of the other goby species, things like that. So.
All right, this is Stacy Fergal again with New York Sea Grant. Just a brief update from me. As part of one of the projects that I'm involved in with collaboratively with New York State DEC, I manage the NYIS.info website. Previously, almost 2 years ago now, we got a facelift. So the website's been redesigned, still working on updating some of the content. So this year we're really focused on getting some of our species pages that haven't seen some love in a while, getting those updated. If you happen to use any of those species pages and notice errors, please definitely reach out. My contact info is listed there. We're also working with the folks at IMAP to get integrated maps on all the species pages that would be scaled to the statewide level, as the website's a statewide resource. To address some of the scheduling issues Brittany mentioned, we're also working on an area where we'll have dates for sort of statewide meetings of relevance. So all the PRISM partner meetings, any big like the Invasive Species Expo or large conferences. So hopefully we can avoid overlapping and missing out on meetings. Also looking ahead, New York Sea Grant in partnership with the DEC again. Emily, I don't know if you're going to touch on small grants. Were you going to mention that? Yeah. Okay, Emily has more details, but that'll be a small grants opportunity that will be released sometime likely early in the new year. That's all from me.
So I'm Anna from WRI at Cornell. I work with the DEC AIS coordinators to support research and associated with the work that they do. So like Emily said, we did a very small scale study on looking at the habitat quality inside of water chestnut stands in the Seneca River portion of the Erie Canal. Basically found that that's a super degraded system, basically no invertebrates. The inside of the water chestnut had 0 DO like the entire time that a continuous logger was deployed. So pretty clear evidence that it's not good habitat, and to support fisheries and ecological stability need to really focus on restoring those habitats. Jayla and I have been piloting a very experimental study trying to look at the ability of waterfowl to contribute to aquatic invasive species spread. So that involved a lot of duck pedicures and collection of fecal material. So I'm right now sorting through all of that in the lab, trying to get an idea of how much they're spreading either plant fragments or seeds and contributing. A lot of focus is put on boats. So trying to get at some of those natural drivers also. WRI also hosts an RFP for research associated with aquatic invasive species. That's actually open right now. And submissions are due November 24th, I think. So we have an outreach and research agenda on our website, which I should share with you, make sure that we're up there on the website, Megan. I guess the projects that we funded last year that might be of interest to this group is that Christy Sullivan with Cornell CCE is producing a master naturalist training for specifically aquatic invasive species to get that group more involved with tracking AIS across New York State. So if anyone is involved with the Master Naturalist Network, be on the lookout for that. I have a lot more different things that I could talk about, but I feel like my 2 minutes is up, so I'm gonna pass it on.
Hi everyone, Jayla White, AIS coordinator in Region 6 DEC. So I made it through my first field season, so that was good. I did have one intern from ESF this year, similar to Emily's, from middle of May till middle of August. Just like everyone else, staffing changes and budget problems. We worked with what we had, and I think we had a pretty successful first season. Like Anna discussed, we were doing the pilot for the waterfowl AIS vector research. We were able to sample 6 species, and that'd be 81 total birds this year. So that was pretty good for our first year. We did present a poster at the Invasive Species Expo going over our methods and whatever data that we have so far, which isn't very much, but we're working on it. And hopefully we'll have results for that in 2026. And we are going to be presenting an updated poster at NEPMS, which is Northeast Aquatic Plant Management Society conference in Connecticut in January. If anyone's interested, I can definitely share that poster with you. We mostly focus on water chestnut, especially due to extremely low water levels. Our point intercept surveys just really didn't ever get off the ground this year, but that's okay. We had plenty of water chestnut to deal with throughout the region. We did participate in multiple water chestnut pulls all the way up on the Oswegatchie River, all the way down to Oneida Lake and everywhere in between, pulling around 6,500 pounds of water chestnut, again, with partners. I think the biggest challenge this year was a late find infestation at Tibbetts Creek up on the St. Lawrence River, having to push through permits and getting out there before the nutlets dropped. So this was found in late July, early August. If you know anything about water chestnut, once those nutlets drop, your opportunity of being able to stop that seed bank from growing exponentially is taken away. So luckily we were able to push those permits through and go out for 2 full days of pulling water chestnut out there with partners and Mike Morgan, of course, up in Wilson Hill, St. Lawrence County. DEC, which was a huge help with his staff. And we were able to pull a total of 1,400 pounds within 2 days, most of those being the first day. And then Mike and his crew have gone back out and monitored a couple times, pulling anywhere from 35 to 50 plants. But we were able to clear out the whole bay. So that was like our largest accomplishment of the season. We did finally acquire a harvester, so we're looking forward to the permitting and fun that goes with that for next year. Let's see here. My whole sheet did this morning time. We are waiting on the WISP bid. If you're not familiar, WISP is Watercraft Inspection Steward Program. We did put it out for bid last year. Unfortunately, we didn't have any bids. It's currently back out for bid for a longer period of time, and that closes, and we'll know on December 10th if our region will have this program. Again, that will include 10 boat stewards at various locations across the Region 6. So stay tuned on that. I'm also going to be hiring for 3 positions, which 2 will be seasonal positions and 1 will be a semi-permanent position. Those should be coming out around Christmas time, maybe slightly after. I guess the last note is that we did successfully do eDNA this year. We used the citizen science sampler. If anyone is looking for a not super cheap, but cheaper than a backpack sampler, I highly recommend the Citizen Science sampler. It's just a handheld thing, super easy to use, get your sample done within like 2 minutes. And we were able to do 24 sites for that, and we're just waiting to send off our samples. And that is it for me.
Hi, I'm Kennedy. For state park side of things, we had a male and female piping plover at Sandown Beach State Park, but no nesting. Maybe next year. But that's still exciting that we had male and female at the same time together. We are continuing to do ongoing conversations of habitat nourishment across the eastern shore of Lake Ontario for Great Lakes piping plovers, but that is very heavy conversation, so won't go into the weeds with that. For Sandy Island, I'm continuing to do a shoreline restoration project in the dune system there. We've had some dune blowouts that are occurring on the southern peninsula, so we did some dune transplants, and we're going to fix some snow fencing that's out there to really like stabilize our transplants. So that's really exciting. We're pretty much almost done with the project. We'll probably wrap it up in the spring. For state parks, the Finger Lakes region, they did collect some dune grafts from Sandy Island for their turtles at Fairhaven Beach State Park. But there's some like permitting concerns with the grass, so hopefully they can use our grass, but we'll see. We may have to replant all that grass. It's okay. It happens. With Sandy Island also, we did start doing a more intense invasive surveying of the entire property. So the biggest populations that we're seeing are Phragmites, of course, spotted knapweed, and honeysuckle and buckthorn. So our team's going to continue conversations of how we can effectively manage those, especially on the dune system next to Sandy Pond, Lake Ontario. But moving forward with my other half, our Onondaga Audubon Society, we did hire a student through her fellowship program at Tufts University. Jilly was her name. She did incredible work for the piping plovers, but also for Onondaga Audubon. She remapped the trail system at Derby Hill and Illinois Sanctuary. I was hoping that we could have time for her to start mapping more invasives at both sanctuaries, but unfortunately did not have the time to do that. So hopefully in the summertime, we could try to tackle that for our sanctuaries and figure out where we could do some management at both sites. But that is all.
Thank you. Hi, Raquel Manella, again with New York State Parks Central Region. I'm the Invasive Species and Plant Conservation Coordinator. So this season, we visited about 13 different state parks where we either surveyed areas or conducted terrestrial removals. We targeted 23 different herbaceous and woody terrestrial invasive plants. We also surveyed for 3 invasive insects, including the zigzag sawfly, which we did find at Bowman Lake State Park, and that is tier 3. We also conducted 4 invasive species outreach events with our Friends of Clark Reservation State Park. 2 of these events were on how to use IMAP invasives and how to use iNaturalist. The other two events focused on manual removal of woody invasive species, including Norway maple and common buckthorn. The removal events were conducted in the fall, which I found great success with because when you have volunteers that maybe aren't super experienced with plant ID in the fall, when the woody invasive species are they still have their leaves while the other native plants have senesced, it's super easy to for volunteers to like pick them out. So that was pretty successful, and I think we had a total of like 15 people show up, combined the two events, so that was pretty good. Looking forward, we're starting to plan our HWA surveys. We have 14 state parks that we're going to visit with 22 days scheduled. I'm also trying out a new volunteer sign-up form to streamline coordination, so that's super exciting. And I'm also thinking about planning next year's invasive species events with the Friends of Clark Reservation State Park group. And yeah, huge thank you to my stewards, Giovanni, Victoria, Cora, Madeline, and Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks.
Hello, Dylan Cox, Oswego County. So to sum up our field season, we were focused primarily on water chestnut and giant hogweed within Oswego County. With the water chestnut program, over the summer, we did hire 5 interns to help us survey primarily the Oswego River. We also did some work in Oneida Lake as well as Little Salmon River. At the end of the year, we had treated roughly 65 acres of water chestnut, which sounds like a lot, but it is a good thing. It's a downward trend. It is less than previous years. But towards the end of the field season too, it was getting a little difficult with the interns because we kept running into HABs, and we don't want them working in that. We don't want to risk them getting sick. So it kind of limited our sites we could send them to. And it might be becoming a more of a concern. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as we progress forward. The giant hogweed program, we work very closely with the DEC on that. Throughout the summer, we have monitored roughly 40 sites, and 20 of those sites were treated for giant hogweed. And yeah, overall, I would say the field season was a success.
Hello, Alexis Sprague with DOT Region 2. I'm fairly new to the region, so I don't have an update, just showing a face. I'm going to be the new contact for Region 2 for invasive species. So,
Hi, Emily Fell, and with DEC's Great Lakes program, and Stacy mentioned we'll have a DECC grant, Great Lakes Small Grants request for proposals out this spring, and Megan Cochran is the contact with Sea Grant on that. Also, some of the things I'm working on that I'm really excited about. Day in the life, we had a really good year with lots of partners at Westcott Beach. So thanks for all the partners that helped engage students from Belleville Henderson in monitoring. We had a drought this year, but still learned about drought and had some fun, played the macroinvertebrate mayhem game. So it was still very engaging. And I've been working on the integration of Indigenous and traditional ecological knowledge into our day in the life education programming with, I guess this year was kind of a pilot with Onondaga Nation School and knowledge holders of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy who are really helping us understand how Indigenous and traditional ecological knowledge can be really co-designed to education programming as to build our understanding and ways of knowing and promote, Indigenous values of respect, responsibility, and reciprocity. So really inspired by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and I attended the Native American Indian Education Association of New York State conference. There's going to be one coming up in October. And all are, they're welcome to other educators who want to learn. And then, I'm happy to talk more about that offline. I just presented at the Science Teachers Conference, and there's lots of teacher interest too. And then the Great Lakes Action Agenda, work group meetings for Southeast and Northeast Lake Ontario. We just had them in Sackett's Harbor and at Montezuma Audubon Center. There's lots of interest in coordinating on invasive species management under our GLAA work plan that we're developing. I think one thing that came up was the need for a water chestnut collaborative across the regions. So, and then, the vectors, understanding the vectors of spread came up. And then a lot of ongoing activities related to coordination with SLELO Prism. So that, those were really good, well-attended work groups. Also working on aquatic connectivity. There was a dam removal summit held by Water Resources Institute. So, but really trying to do aquatic connectivity in a way that doesn't spread invasive species in new areas. So there's going to be a community of practice. If that's an interest, happy to connect you with our folks at WRI who are helping to lead that. So thanks. That's all for me.
Hi, Jillian Lee with the Tug Hill Commission. For those who might not know what the commission is, we're a non-regulatory state agency. We serve the communities of the Tug Hill region, so within Jefferson, Lewis, Oneida, and Oswego. We don't necessarily do a lot of invasive species projects specifically, but we work a lot with our local municipalities, and we do a lot of communication and sharing information with them. So if you have events or if you're trying to reach communities, we can definitely help with that. We did host, we do a lot of like educational types of things. So we helped co-host the Black River Watershed Conference this past year. And then we also did a little bit on the Little Salmon River dam removal. So actually we had SLELO there presenting about their projects, and that was great. And then I'm putting together the Black River Initiative newsletter right now. So if you do any work within the Black River watershed and you want to share about a project or what's going on, please feel free to reach out to me and we can include an article in the newsletter for you guys. Thanks.
Adam Blue, sorry, no updates from Region 7 DOT at this time.
Irene Mizaki, I'm reporting on behalf of Ontario Bay Initiatives Land Trust. They did remove 6 acres of buckthorn just recently. It's the only on Downey Brook Nature Preserve. It's the only piece of property that they outright own, and it's open to the public. It's about 185 acres with 3.5 miles of trails. So if you haven't been there, it's outside of Watertown and Brownville. It's a great place. Basically, the buckthorn removal is to enhance grassland bird habitat. So I did that as a DEC biologist, and I'm really encouraging that wherever I go. So grasslands birds are the fastest declining suite of birds in North America. So I work with a lot of different people on that. I also want to comment that I did some volunteer work with SLELO and with Jayla. We did some water chestnut pull at Lakeview Wildlife Management Area, which I used to oversee. And I do have to comment that I feel like we're losing that battle. The water chestnut there, I felt like we had a handle on it, but right now we don't. I don't know if Jayla, you probably agree. Adam was a very active part of the water chestnut pulls, and it just seems like it's growing. So that's it.
Hi, I'm Andrea and Sarah, and I am a new volunteer at the Indian River Lakes Conservancy. I just spent the last 32 years teaching high school biology and worked with a lot of different partners trying to get them to come into my classroom to do a lot of things. So I worked with Megan Pistolis over the years with aquatic education, and we've done some riparian zones along the Indian River. That's with Jefferson County Soil and Water. And what I do with the Conservancy now, I'm able to volunteer more time because I just retired in June. So I put together with a bunch of other people, put together a program at the Indian River Lakes Conservancy for teenagers in the summertime, and just trying to get them all sorts of watershed experience. And so I'm looking here actually for partners to try to work with next summer to try to expose kids to all sorts of environmental concerns and environmental careers. These are high school kids that are starting to think about, where am I going next? So I have a lot of connection with a lot of high schools, and of course with the new New York State standards that we have in high schools, I could have put those teachers in contact with different organizations, and I think that that would be a way for them to meet the New York State standards that they have now, get kids really engaged. What I found is that the best way to get kids engaged is to do place-based projects. This is their land. This is where they live. For a lot of the kids, they're not outside enough to really be in contact with it. But once they are, their eyes are just opened up. They're inspired to want to take action. They're also climate depressed. And so teaching them a way that they can take action, being part of the solution, and really think about careers is a way for them to be inspired to just like take the baton from us and move in the next direction. So I'm here to try to hopefully make some connections that we can just get you in contact with high schools, get you in contact with the Indian River Lakes Conservancy, with the kids that we work with, but also really the adults. You know, adult education is something I can do now that I'm not correcting papers. So, so that's what I'm hoping for.
Oh, down the line, or
just, yep.
there you go.
Tom Algeier, New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets Invasive Species Coordinator. The first thing I want to say is thanks to SLELO and all the prison partners for all the support to produce a wonderful, positive expo. You know, the Invasive Species Council puts that on, and you know, the 9 state agencies can't do it alone. With all the help from prisms and the prison partners and everyone else, it was a great success. Now on to the bad news. Spotted lanternfly and box tree moth continue to spread, both in the SLELO region. Maybe not box tree moth, but it's in the SLELO region, but where it's continuing to spread is more in the Finger Lakes region. It's continuing to spread further south. But still within the quarantine area, which runs basically from the western edge of the Adirondacks all the way down to the Pennsylvania border, those 34 counties west of that area. Spotted lanternfly is now in half the state. 31 counties have been confirmed. That's unfortunate, but that's just the reality we're in right now. And back to something positive. There was a state legislator from the Ithaca area that passed legislation, or sponsored legislation that passed last January, basically requiring, it was an agri-markets law, basically requiring us to produce a list of native plant seeds that are likely to survive climate change. So that list will be published sometime after January 8th, which is the deadline. I've been working with partners at DEC and Parks and New York State Economic Development Corporation. And the draft list is complete. It just has to be approved by the various agencies. We're meeting once more this Friday, and that should be the complete final draft. It's been a uphill. There's a lot of plants to look at, but not a lot of data for things. So there's a lot of plants that we want to add to the list, but we can't because there's just not data. So that'll be coming out soon, hopefully in the next few months. Keep a lookout for that. So 2 positives, 2 negatives, it's kind of wash. So, all right, thanks. I can't think of which counties that we just added. There was a report in Herkimer. I don't think that was confirmed. I think it was a false report, or not a false report, but an error in reporting. I'll have to get back to you. I just can't think of which counties were added recently. So who needs this? Who wants this?
Thank you. We are wrapping up, I promise. Let me just remember all the tech things here. All right. Now you can all see me again. Let me
Rich. All right, so we had really good intentions to have a really nice poll for you all to talk about our future partner meeting dates and just try to figure out timeframes so it would work for everyone. But it didn't really pan out perfectly for this. So in the follow-up with the summary, we will send like a 3 questionnaire piece for that and just say like, you know, what time frame works better, early January, end of January, early February, end of February. Part of this was we were previously doing our fall partner meeting in the beginning of October, and for us in SLELO was so awful because we were still in the field. So not only we were in the field, then we were dedicating days to getting like slides and data together and trying to get everything to everyone. So our goal was to just make some changes to the timing of that. And I should have known it was gonna snow today, of course, or now it's raining, I think. But we were trying to shift that. So I hope that was helpful for a lot of people. And we want to do that for the other meetings too, so that we're having them kind of more distributed through the off season for those of us who have to have staff and the seasonal staff or we're out there. I know it is challenging to do the tech and the in-person stuff. It's not my favorite. But we do have a huge region. Someone emailed me at 6 o'clock this morning and said it's a 3-hour drive for me to get there from the north. And thanks to Carolyn, who actually drove through the Adirondacks to get here. That was the region they were driving. And they're like, I can't do it today. And so it's totally fine. So we'll figure out ways to make this hybrid in-person stuff balance better. We're clearly trying to get some tech things to do that. Learned today we need speakers because that was a little rough for those of us in the room with the online portion, but we'll figure it all out. And we'll get our partner meetings scheduled. We'll get those on the NIAS website. We'll get those on our website. We'll always do a registration for our meetings now moving forward, just to help us figure out who's in the room. And then also we'll have an opportunity for people to share a slide if they want to for their updates for meetings moving forward, just in hope to just kind of make things kind of flow better for everyone. Yeah, so well intentioned and it will come, but I got a little deep in the data for the partner survey and kind of forgot about that part. So I have open discussion on here, but I think what we'll actually do, unless anyone has questions they want to ask right now that is burning, but we can just have that just be after like the meeting adjournment if anyone wants to talk in the room. No burning questions in here. I don't see anything happening online either. So we'll break for that. And so basically this is the end of the meeting. Sort of for people online, it's the end for you. But those of you in the room, we are going to do a group photo. And so by the looks of what I think is pouring rain or snow, I can't tell. I'd love to go outside, but I think we'll just do the photo in here so that you guys don't have to worry about any of that. But we'll do a group photo. And then again, we have lots of opportunity for some snacks and stuff. So please stay, have Thanksgiving dinner with your families at these tables. Just chat, network, and then anyone who is coming on the BioBlitz, we will still do that. It could be whatever we want it to be at this point. If you want it just to be a nice mile walk in the pouring rain, that's fine too. But we'll be out there. We're gonna go through the trenches. So otherwise, we will plan the future dates for the meetings. Please reach out to our team. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for responding to that partner survey. And we'll stay in touch and very excited for 2026 and all that's to come. Yes. We can do either. It's like a 1-minute drive or a 4-minute walk. So that's up to everybody who's going to stay. So once we break from the meeting, we can kind of figure that part out. Anything else?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you to everyone online. We're going to sign you off now.
Olivia just unmuted them.
Oh, Olivia, did you want to share something?
I was just saying thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.